P. Diddy loved his studio. It was his sanctuary, his creative haven. He poured his heart and soul into every beat, every rhyme. The studio had seen countless hits, witnessed musical history. It was more than just a workspace. It was Diddy's second home. He often worked late, pushing boundaries, chasing perfection. But lately something felt different. The air grew heavy, the silence punctuated by strange noises. Diddy brushed it off as fatigue. He had work to do. It started subtly, a faint buzzing from the speakers when they were off. At first it was barely noticeable, just a soft hum in the background. Lights flickering, then returning to normal. Diddy dismissed it, blaming faulty wiring. He thought it was just an old building showing its age. He focused on the music, on the rhythm that pulsed through his veins. But the incidents persisted. The more he tried to ignore them, the more frequent they became. One night he heard a whisper, clear as day, "Get out." His head snapped up, searching the empty studio. The voice was unmistakable, yet no one was there. Goosebumps prickled his skin. He shook it off, attributing it to his imagination, but deep down he knew something was off. The studio, usually brimming with creative energy, now felt cold, almost sinister. He tried to ignore it, but a shiver ran down his spine. The once comforting space now felt like a trap closing in on him. One night, Diddy found himself alone in the studio. His crew had left hours ago, but the melody wouldn't leave his head. He needed to lay it down, capture the inspiration. The studio was quiet, the silence broken only by the hum of equipment and the rhythmic tap of his fingers on the mixing board. He lost himself in the music, pouring his soul into the track. Outside, the city slept, oblivious to the strange events unfolding within the studio walls. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, as if the very atmosphere was thickening around him. A cold draft swept through the room, raising goosebumps on Diddy's arms. The chill was unnatural, almost otherworldly. He felt a presence, unseen but palpable, lurking just beyond his sight. It was as if the shadows themselves were watching him. Then the lights went out, plunging the studio into darkness. The sudden blackness was suffocating, wrapping around him like a shroud. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in the silence. Fear gripped him, tightening its hold with every passing second. He fumbled for his phone, his hand trembling uncontrollably. The device felt like a lifeline in the oppressive darkness. The whisper returned, closer now, chilling him to the bone. "Leave! Now!" it hissed, the words slicing through the silence like a knife. Panic welled up inside him, threatening to overwhelm his senses. His breaths came in short, rapid gasps. He was no stranger to the tough side of life, but this was different. This was terrifying. This was a fear he had never known, a fear that shook him to his core. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he saw it. A shadowy figure materialized in the recording booth. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light piercing the darkness. Diddy was paralyzed with fear, unable to breathe, to scream. The figure moved towards him, gliding effortlessly through the air. The temperature plummeted. His blood ran cold. He had never experienced anything like this before. He stumbled back, knocking over a microphone stand. The clatter echoed through the empty studio, amplifying his fear. The figure stopped, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Then it vanished into thin air, leaving an eerie silence behind. Light flooded the room as suddenly as it had disappeared, casting long shadows that danced on the walls. Diddy scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding like a drum. He could feel the cold sweat trickling down his back. He ran out of the studio, not daring to look back. The fear was palpable, gripping him like a vice. The next day he listened to the track he'd been working on, hoping to find some rational explanation for the night's events. At the end, a whisper, barely audible but undeniably there, sent chills down his spine. "You've been warned," it said, clear as day. Diddy never stayed alone in the studio after midnight. The memory of that whisper haunted him. The Hit Factory continued to churn out music, but it held a dark secret, a chilling reminder of the night P. Diddy met the studio's resident ghost. The legend grew, whispered among those who dared to work late.